Heyo, welcome everyone to Today in the Scene by Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, your host, and here on In the Scene, we dive into what's happening in the arcade space, from new arcade developers, arcade owners and operators, and just news in the space in general. Now, if you're looking to bring an indie into your arcade or your personal collection, don't forget that the website is live. We've got a bunch of different games on there. Find a game you like, contact me, and we'll connect you with the people you need to get connected with so you can bring one into your collection. Now, this week, we've got a special guest. I met him at IAAPA, and he had a really cool design for a at-home DIY open source arcade cabinet that I think would be incredibly beneficial for someone who is developing their own arcade game, and it's a good point to start when you're prototyping. So let's bring in Brent Bushnell, who was also the owner of Two Bit Circus. How you doing, Brent?
Great, Joe. Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited to chat, kind of hear your story, what it was like opening the arcade, and then kind of pivoting into this other thing. And you've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. So just
I've been running this high-tech circus for over a decade, and it really it's gone through all sorts of different evolutions. I lost control of it for a little while, and finally have it back. And we had a half a city block in downtown LA, 50,000 square feet. That was what we called a micro amusement park, and we closed that down in April and are moving, and got a pop-up now on 3rd Street Promenade in Los Angeles. So really excited to be back in motion. And one of the things, we've got the exhibition and the games that we've made. This is a interactive game show with wireless box of buttons. But we've also got this nonprofit foundation that is in at this point a quarter of the schools of LAUSD. We use cardboard and found objects to inspire kids how to make their own games. And one of the things that I saw was so often they'd make a great cardboard, pinball, a great cardboard, skee ball, and it'd last the afternoon. If you really were playing it, it starts to fall apart pretty fast. Cardboard's awesome even for experienced makers to be able to prototype, because you can sort of get something up and running fast, but it doesn't stand the test of time or bodies using it. And so that was where this idea for this DIY Artcade came from. And the idea is a whole set of open source tools. So, and I would love to be able to show an image. I can even just show it on, hold it up to my phone, or up to the camera. But the idea is a whole bunch of different tools and files. The CAD file. The simplicity of going from SolidWorks to a CNC machine, so that you can cut out that cabinet from 2 sheets of plywood. A published EPS file that governs the sticker that goes on the entire cabinet outside, but you can change it to however you want. We made the cabinet with 2 joysticks, but if you want a driving game, go ahead and replace that one panel for your driving game. We've published we're about to publish all the modifications to the Ubuntu operating system to make it ready for kiosk mode. It comes down as a little Debian file, and then an open source game. And this is the critical part: open source payment rails. We worked with Intel to build this system so that once you've built this cabinet, you can put it on location, like arcades for decades. You put it in a cafe, you put it in a laundromat. But when someone wants to play, they scan a QR code on the screen to pay from their phone, and then through the internet, the game gets triggered to be able to activate. Now, the removal of having to do cash handling at the machine, right, saves you hundreds of dollars in gear and bill acceptors and all that kind of stuff. But also, it's not storing cash, right? So you can just have it be this plywood cabinet because there's so little inside it. And and still be able to put it in public. So we're really excited about this as a tool for learning, as a launch, sort of a known good quantity that people can iterate from and tweak, and make it their own. So it's been a real labor of love this last year. We're getting close to finishing it. Huge thanks to Intel and SolidWorks for backing all the nerds to build this thing to where it is.
Yeah, I thought it was a really cool cabinet. Super good idea. It would be incredibly easy. A lot of the indie developers in the arcade space are using Unity. So this is a point where you could literally just take the file and just drop it right onto Unity and be able to play everything. So let's talk a little bit about like your history of gaming. Yeah, I want to see this video.
Hold up this photo here.
Yeah.
You know, you can see the cabinet. There it is. Yep. With the sticker on it, but that's 2 sheets of plywood, you know, and like less than, you know, probably $500 in commodity parts off of Amazon. Yep. You know, tiny little computer, the joysticks, whatever. So sorry, but you were saying my history of video games. You know, you know, really fortunate to you know, grow up in a gaming family. You know, my dad founded Atari and Chuck E. Cheese, and you know, really you know, is a huge game fan, and you know, raised us around games. And you know, I have 7 siblings, and a lot of us really pushed off of making gaming our career because that was sort of dad's thing, and he really, you know, encouraged us to do our own, you know, to do our own things. And you know, so I really found gaming sort of in a roundabout way. I was running my first company doing outsourced IT and web hosting and that kind of stuff, sort of in early days when that was still sort of hard. I had my own Linux machines, you know, in a bank vault in downtown LA, you know, data center, and met my co-founder for Two Bit, Eric Gradman, and he and I were just like, you know, engineers looking for fun stuff to experiment with. And so we were just playing with like the Kinect and, you know, to cheap sensors that you could do with Arduino. And, you know, and all of a sudden that stuff, you went from sort of interactive art into games. And I was like, oh my God, what have I been doing? I freaking love games. I've been raised with games. I've been playing games my whole life. And really my like passions and, you know, skills and everything sort of all lined up. And I've just been having a ball ever since. So yeah, that we really, a lot of the early stuff that Eric and I started making in 2008, you know, became things that were the sort of core of Two Bit Circus's, you know, game offering, as we either brought that stuff to other people's events to like rent it as a traveling nerd circus, you know, or exhibit it on our own at our, you know, at our own venues.
Yeah, dive into Two Bit a little bit more, because it's such a unique space. Like everything in there is like, not in a bad way, like it's weird. Like you have so many like awesome exhibits. Like you're right, it's such like an art installation for gaming. Like you had like a giant operation table kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
we made about half the entertainment in there, you know, and we have what we call story rooms, or our version of escape rooms. We've actually been building sort of longer than escape rooms, but they're job simulators. You know, one of them is the spaceship, and there's multiple different cabinets in this 200 square foot room. A cabinet for the pilot, a cabinet for the gunner, you know, a central weapons system. And so in this, you know, sort of blend of a story and a video game, you know, you and up to 5 of your friends are all working together to pilot the spaceship. And, you know, this really was the beginning for us. We felt like there's a lot of, you know, additional episodes beyond the sort of first 15-minute one that we have. But imagine you have 2 of them, you could sort of get into a dogfight with another team. So we think there's really a lot of room in these sort of job simulator style. You mentioned our operation room. This is a ginormous puppet. You're all working together on a, you know, in a surgery simulation, and we'll make you a doctor, you know, you know, in under 45 minutes of your money back. So it's all run by puppets, and they're you know, unlike escape rooms, they're automated. You know, they're all driven by software, and they run to completion. You know, no matter sort of how badly or well people do, but you could sort of do, you know, you can do better or worse, but at least it will sort of run to completion. And so from a venue operating standpoint, that's a really nice thing. It's predictable, and, you know, less staff, and, you know, all that stuff is, you know, a major consideration when you talk about exhibiting this stuff to the public in a venue.
Yeah, I think that's cool that you have such unique experiences there, and you're transitioning to new locations, doing pop-ups. Tell us a little bit about what that's like moving everything to a new location, and where you're doing these pop-ups.
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, the COVID, was such a ride. It was obviously terrible for us in Los Angeles, closed 18 months and under restriction for 12. And, you know, but the thing that it's also done is the trend of, you know, a glut of retail space has just continued, and it's just continued in wild ways. I mean, the pop-up that we're setting up right now is on the 3rd Street Promenade. You know, I mean, this is like, you know, this is the jewel of Los Angeles, and somehow the northernmost block is at 50% occupancy. I mean, it is just, the world is topsy-turvy. And so but we always, for a decade, you know, we were on the east side. You know, Two Bit was founded on the east side, out of my loft. And you know, we kept hearing, when are you guys coming to the west side? When are you coming to the west side? So, you know, there's a lot of west siders that don't want to go past Lincoln. For people in Los Angeles, that really means something. So we're going to be setting up on the west side in this pop-up in Santa Monica. We want to see how well it goes, and if it's great, if it's working, we'll stay for longer. And we'd really love to get back to the this is small, 4,000 square feet, but our hope is to get back to a much bigger size. Man, when we had a traveling carnival, 120,000 square feet, I felt like I was out of room. So, this has been really cramming to get stuff in there.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience from what you were used to. And, that happens over time. Things evolve, things change, things move, and you're just rolling with it. So let's talk a little bit about IAAPA.
I'll say just one last thing. You mentioned about traveling stuff, and a lot of our entertainment has gone under such evolution. I've been obsessed with interactive game shows for 15 years, and our original approach when we first opened 2-Bit was 100 seats for 25 tables. The tables built into the ground because they had touch screens built into the tables. I mean, this was like a huge engineering project powering those 25 computers and all this kind of stuff, or 50 computers. And all the software to run it and everything. And ultimately where we landed is this freaking wireless box of buttons, and so rather than trenching the floor and all of this custom gear, you can get 100 people playing with this fit inside of a Pelican case. And so the opportunity, for immersive VR in 2017, you needed truss and a ginormous computer, and you were tethered 5 feet to a headset. The whole thing cost you 10 grand. It was a ginormous project. And now with the Quest 3, it's like all in the headset. You're done. At $300. So there's this real, efficiency that's sort of helped make pop-ups possible in a way that we really couldn't do 5 years ago, or at least we didn't know enough. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah. I mean, and like I was saying, this amusement space it's growing like crazy, and we were just at like the biggest trade show you can pretty much go to for it. So IAAPA, what was IAAPA like? What was your experience there, and what was it like being with like those indies? Because the indie arcade space is starting to grow quite a bit too.
Starting to grow, and 2-Bit has always put our arms, around the indie arcade space, and it had a lot of indie cabinets at, in downtown, and we continue to have a lot in our collection. I'm a huge fan of indies, and this Artcade is a real, gift back to the indie community. So give them, if you have a great game, we've sort of solved all the rest of the stuff that's really hard, getting the operating system components and all that stuff. So IAAPA is amazing. I've been going since I was little. I can remember as a kid, our dad bringing a bunch of me and my siblings, and it is ginormous. It's the Orlando Convention Center. It's half of the the ginormous convention center. Goes outside. There's tons of bouncy houses, more bouncy house configurations you could imagine. If you wanted to build a water park or a theme park, these are the people who are going to build your roller coasters and whatever. So they've got their installations. I mean, you can get on a full blown cyclotron, or some of those things. I mean, they're bringing all the carnival operators are bringing a bunch of their mobile gear. So it is a full-blown playground amusement park, inside of the convention center for the 5 days that it's there. And then there's all the classes and training. If you're an operator and you're trying to learn how to do marketing or billing or any of that kind of stuff, so it's got all of the sort of under the hood realities of running these operations, and so you get to really get a snapshot of the industry and see what's going on, and there's all sorts of interesting new stuff and how to do it, and people are coming over from China and the Middle East, and so you really see a real broad spectrum of entertainment offerings. And I think anybody should go. If you just like fun, it's worth a visit.
I agree. It was a really cool trade show. I mean, I've been to a lot of conventions and everything. This was completely different from anything that I've experienced. There were well over 3,000 booths. Like it was insane how long it took to walk around. And that was just inside. Like you said, there's an outside too. When I say 3,000, that was just inside. So it's wild to see everything from full bowling alleys that are set up to water slides and roller coasters and everything. And the arcade side was cool. It was cool to see you in a booth with Armed and Gelatinous and KungFu Kickball. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about like how that all came together and what you think about like these individual developer these games. What do you see for the future there?
Yeah, huge fans of both Armed and Gelatinous and KungFu Kickball. We had Armed, it at 2-Bit and would have had KungFu Kickball if it had been ready. We're, again, I'm huge fans of the indie space. And my friend Denise Weston, who made Magic Quest and is really incredible mentor to the community, had been working with a bunch of students from Purdue, and as a professor, and so they had, the students had come down there, and I'd reached out to the guys from Armed and Gelatinous and KungFu Kickball, see Anthony and Jonah, see if they wanted to exhibit their stuff, and I had the Artcade to exhibit, and Intel wanted to be able to showcase that with the IAAPA crowd, and so that was enough momentum to get a booth together, and all of a sudden we had a showcase of great indie games and some industry aspirants there to soak it up and learn about what it takes to run a booth and exhibit to this industry. So it was really sort of fun learning opportunity and way for folks to get to see what goes into this stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really cool to see those games and like really show them off on like a huge scale. IAAPA is massive. Like there's so many people coming through, so you really get to show it to people that probably would never see it otherwise.
Yeah, totally. It's hard to get that awareness, and a lot of these are family entertainment center operators from all over the world, and they're really, this is their moment to get to see and what they're going to bring back to their community for the year.
Yeah, and it seemed like very, very positive feedback, and everybody really enjoyed it. I played it with a bunch of different people and got some great footage. So that's all going to be coming up, and I'm excited. Hopefully next year we can get like a full indie booth and have 10 or 12 of us in there and really, really show it off and let people know that like, hey, we're here.
Indies are here.
A lot of cool games coming
with a lot of classic cabinets and modern modern approaches, modern gaming, some new novel controllers. There's a lot of fun experimentation going on out there.
Yeah, and there's a lot to do. I mean, like we just finished Food Fight, which has the official Atari license on it, and it is so much fun to play that game as a 4-player. We've had a ton of people step up to it and be like, "Oh, I remember this game, but I haven't been able to find it in decades because so few of them were sold." It was at the end. Everything was kind of crashing. So it's such a rare game to have in a collection now that if you have it, you're probably not bringing it out to the public.
So rad. Well, I gotta say, man, it was so fun to see some of the old stuff recast. That Alan 1 Asteroids was just a blast. That big wall of screen, multiple players. I mean, it was just really fun to play.
Yeah, awesome. I've had them on the show, and they're great guys. Super excited about what they're doing too.
Yeah, super.
Let's talk about the future. Like, what are your plans for 2-Bit and DIY Artcade? Like, how can people get like the schematics and everything for a DIY Artcade?
Yeah, so DIYartcade.com. Right now, we've got the CAD and the EPS for the sticker up there. We're working on the final software, and we're going to get that all posted. I've got a whole article that's going to kind of walk through all of the pieces. So should have that published January timeframe. But right now, today, you can download the CAD file. It's all on GitHub for the cabinet and the EPS file for the sticker. We've got a partner sticker company who's got it all ready to go and formatted, and so that stuff's ready to go. And in terms of the future, we've got a bunch of these. I'm working on the first student cabinet we're building right now. We're about halfway done. It's with a bunch of kids from Animo School in Boyle Heights, and the very first location is going to be Dave and Buster's in Hollywood and Highland. So we've got a really fun kind of ramp for that. And then we're going to do a bunch more cabinets. We're doing some with the school systems in Santa Monica. We're going to do more with other schools. So I'm really excited to get that out there. I'm also hoping that we're going to be able to work with another brand in order to make some adaptations. We could do, if we cut the top off of it and put a projector, all of a sudden it's a podium for a big game. If you swap out the 2 joysticks with a steering wheel, we could do driving games. And there's really great open source driving games. We just need to do a little bit of work to tweak it. So I think my hope is a whole open CADE, a set you could sort of download all of the software software and print, cut all the cabinets, and you'd have driving and arcade and sports and all sorts of different categories, sort of represented in this, buildable arcade. So I really love, that arc. And then for Two Bit, we've got this pop up in Santa Monica. We're going to see where that goes. Hopefully, a bigger location in Santa Monica. I think we could stay on the west side for a while. Continuing to build more games. I'm just obsessed with mixed reality right now, and augmented reality too, with the Snap spectacles that's coming. But the mixed reality with the MetaQuest 3, where you've got pass-through video that you can augment, is freaking magical. It is so magical. And you can, unlike VR, you can wander around in public. You can wander up and down stairs. You can do things that in VR you would just fall on your face. And so this is a real solution to the Achilles heel of VR, which was no locomotion, right? You can't move. The second you move the camera and you're not moving your body, it's like a recipe for getting sick. But the fact that you can now move your body, safely, because you can see the world around you, but then you augment that, that is some magical first-person video game stuff. So I really feel like that's it's gonna definitely take a lot of my time, over the coming years.
Yeah, I agree. I think I prefer AR over VR all day. Like I was just in Japan a couple months ago, and we did the Universal Studios Mario Kart ride, which was augmented reality, and that was really cool. Wasn't dizzy at all. Didn't feel sick. VR, I've got like 15 minutes, and I'm like, my stomach starts getting queasy. I'm like, yeah, it's just, you're right. If the camera's moving, your eyes are moving, your brain says I should be moving, but you're not moving. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So just give us social media shout outs, Brent. Like, let us know where we can follow along with what you're doing. And that's really all I had for you. So just fire them off.
Thanks, Joe. My personal is at Brent Bushnell. It's just all my name spelled out, all one word, Bushnell, Brent Bushnell. And then Two Bit Circus, all spelled out, TWOBITCIRCUS. We're most on Instagram for and Threads are sort of the main places, but we've got Twitter and all that kind of stuff too. So thanks for having me, Joe. This has been a lot of fun talking to you. Really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you joining the show and telling us the story of kind of how you got into it and what Two Bit Circus is, and bringing a platform like this to indie developers is incredible. I've had so many people ask me, like, okay, I'm ready to make the game, but where do I go after that? And I always tell them, just like, go on Craigslist or Facebook and find the shell of a machine that's just destroyed and convert it. But that even takes a lot of time,
Takes some time. And we did this,
and it's heavy
together. There's no you don't need any hardware. They slot together, and it's 2 sheets of plywood. That's like, depending on the level of plywood you get, it's like $150. So
very reasonable. Very, very easy prototype. But yeah, for anybody that's still watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us a ton. The wave will continue to grow. We can all ride it together. The Indie Arcade Wave website is up with, I believe, 12 games on there now. So if you're looking to bring one to your own personal collection or your arcade, just let me know. We'll connect you with the people you need to be connected with. And until next time, peace.